Forgot to check the mail. What you just saw me do as of 2026 would actually be illegal because Gavin Newsom just signed SB53, a law requiring safe storage requirements that is so ridiculous that simply owning a home in your house is likely to end up with you breaking the law. We've already got Supreme Court rulings about safe storage laws, but something as simple as not being directly next to or carrying your firearm while it is in the home is something that would be punishable and would potentially be a misdemeanor. Let's talk about it. So Gavin Newsom just signed SB 53 in the state of California, and this law essentially bans keeping a firearm in your home staged for any defensive purposes. Now, that might seem like a little bit of an exaggeration, but in practice, the way that this law works would make something as simple as working on a gun in your garage and then going and checking the mail, or coming home from wherever you were with your concealed carry permit in the state of California, taking your gun off, quickly going and checking the mail, grabbing something that you forgot out of your truck, or as a gun owner, let's say you're going to the range, you're coming back from the range, you set your guns down in your garage, inside your house, your apartment, whatever. You go back into your car to grab the other firearms and gear you had in your truck and come back. All of those actions likely are going to potentially open you up to a misdemeanor in the state of California. Now, in the state of California, we already have certain laws regarding possession of a firearm inside the home where you would reasonably believe or expect to believe a child or a prohibited person could enter the home and have the ability to access that firearm. And then if they were to use that firearm in an unlawful way, that could get you in trouble because you allowed a child or a prohibited person to gain access to those firearms. Well, those laws are being expanded upon slightly. However, those laws are already in place, and we're mostly going to be talking about today about the across-the-board requirement for safe ownership, firearms locking device ownership, and usage of those in the state of California. Because as a gun owner, you probably might have a nightstand gun or a home defense firearm that when you're home or when you're coming from the range maybe exists in the home safely, but it might be loaded and not inside of a locked container. I don't have kids. I live only with my wife. We have firearms in the home for protection and defensive purposes. When we leave the home, yes, it is responsible to lock those firearms up when you are not home. That makes sense. People already do that. However, the way that this law is written in such a way that simply going too far in your house, reasonably, going upstairs in my home while I have a firearm downstairs or vice versa, could potentially open me up to receiving a misdemeanor crime in the state of California. So the specific section that I want to read to you is from Section 10 in SB 53, Penal Code 25145. And I believe that this will go into effect as of January 1st of 2026. This is the real big problem one within this bill. Beginning on January 1st of 2026, a person shall ensure that any firearm the person possesses in a residence is securely stored whenever the firearm is not being carried or readily controlled by the person or another lawful authorized user. So typically that would maybe be your wife or someone that you are allowing to have possession of the firearm while you're in their presence, that kind of thing. So a firearm is securely stored if it is maintained within, locked by, or disabled using a certified firearm safety device or a secure gun safe. For the purpose of Section 25105, 25135, 25205, 27882, and 27883, the following terms have the following meanings. An authorized user has the same meaning as in Section 16745. Certified firearm safety device means any firearm safety device or gun safe that is listed on the Department of Justice roster or tested and approved firearm safety devices certified for sale pursuant to section 23655. So authorized users, it's people that are allowed to have the firearm that you are letting hold the gun per se, or your wife if you live inside the home, or your husband. I don't know, some of you are gay, but 97% of you are men that watch this channel. Readily controlled by a person or another lawful authorized user means either of the following. A person or other lawful authorized user is carrying the firearm on their person. So when I walked in the door with this gun on my belt underneath my shirt, that's fine. When I set it down, that was also fine because I was right next to it. However, Section B of readily controlled says the person or other lawful authorized user is within close enough proximity to the firearm to readily prevent unauthorized user from gaining access to the firearm. So, if this gun is not within my touchy distance or not within my immediate ability to readily grab it, that would potentially be breaking the law. So I have a concealed carry permit in the state of California. I'm involved in a lawsuit against SB2 in the state of California, challenging where we can and cannot carry. That's funded by the CRPA. Donate to them, support them. I legally can carry this SIG P365 outside of the home because I have a permit. I come home, I set that gun down on my table. I forgot to check the mail. I go outside. I've broken the law. I have broken the law. Now, the first time you do that, it's $250 fine. The second, it's up to $500, and a third violation is a misdemeanor. So, some examples of how you could get in trouble for doing this. Let's say you're working on a gun in your garage, working on a gun on your kitchen table, whatever. You go upstairs, you go outside for a second, you check the mail, someone knocks on the door, you go check it out, see what they're doing. You've potentially broken the law because you're no longer in readily controllable distance of that firearm. Let's say, for whatever reason, you are transporting firearms to your residence or your friend's residence. You bring one gun in, you set it down inside. You now walk outside, your friend's still inside. You've got a gun in the car, potentially breaking the law. It is so easy for this to be used in a way that basically the only way to logistically own a firearm in your home as of January 1st of 2026 is if you can't touch it currently, it has to be locked up. So let's say you have a nightstand gun. You're in your bedroom. You wake up in the middle of the night. You go pee. You hear a noise outside, so you just walk downstairs. You look down, look out the window. Are you still in readily able control of that? It would take you probably maybe 20 seconds to get up there and get to the gun. Questionable. Let's say, oh man, did I lock my car last night? Oh, let me go outside real quick and lock my truck. You've broken the law. This law is written in a way that is so beyond what is considered reasonable. This is not a reasonable gun safety law. The laws on the books currently, where if you give access to a firearm to a child and then that child uses the firearm improperly. So let's say you have a child who is insane and should probably be in a psych ward, and you just let that kid have a gun and they do something terrible with that gun. Okay, I can see how you would say maybe that person should be held responsible for giving access to that firearm. We're not talking about that here. We are simply talking about having a gun in the home for the purpose of being prepared. Because a firearm, when my rifle is sitting next to my nightstand upstairs, 40 feet, I don't know, that's hard to judge upstairs diagonally. If I were to go get that gun, I could, but that gun is currently upstairs in my bedroom. That is potentially illegal under this law. A firearm is in use regardless of how close you are to it. So when a firearm is serving a defensive role or meant to be serving a defensive role, if you keep it in the home, it basically, under this law, would have to be strapped to you in order to safely not break the law. Now, the only way that people are going to find out about this is if someone snitches on you, if the police happen to enter your home for a variety of reasons. We've talked about this in the past, where scenarios of people who lived with other people, like Fang Yang or Alan's son, those are two notable cases that I've talked about on the channel. Two people that did nothing wrong, but because someone they lived with did something that caused the police to show up, they got hassled and their lives potentially ruined by the police simply because someone else in the house did something. So maybe you're watching a movie too loud and it's a scene where a husband and wife are arguing and the neighbors call the cops because you live in an apartment complex and the walls are thin. Well, police enter the home to a domestic dispute, and then they happen to see that you have a gun that's secured improperly, but you're at the front door and the gun is over in the bedroom. Well, are you in control? Are you in readily controlled distance of that gun? Maybe you stepped outside of the home to talk to the police officer for whatever reason. Then they enter your home. You're not even inside the apartment or home anymore. How can you say that you're in readily controlled distance of the firearm? So just something to think about. If any organizations are looking to challenge this, if you have the opportunity and the ability to be a plaintiff in a lawsuit like this, you should. This is a ridiculous law. I'm honestly surprised that Gavin Newsom signed it because, I mean, it seems like he has presidential aspirations, and this law is a pretty rough one. So let me know what you guys think down below. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.